Hey everybody, David the AI Guide here. Welcome to another episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Also be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We've been on LinkedIn for a while. I just haven't mentioned it. But we are expanding our reach because AI is getting more and more powerful and capable by the day, and therefore more disruptive. Also, check out my book on Amazon, Kindle or paperback version, The Beginner's Guide to AI, which gives you a quick history from the beginning of AI to now, and also breaks down how AI is being used in 10 different industries today, and will give you a clear idea of how disruptive this is going to be. So going back to an older topic sometimes is good. And today we're going to talk about a company called Observe A.I. that I first talked about, I believe, back at the very end of 2019. So they raised $26 million of Series A funding in December of 2019, right before the pandemic hit. And it's interesting to check in with them and see how they're doing. Observe A.I. provides AI-driven call center software, but not to automate humans out of existence. Rather, it is to coach humans who work in a call center and also help them improve with training and analyzing when mistakes are made or gaps in knowledge exist that need to be corrected. And it also can take the work practices of the most successful call center agents and model that for all the other people. So this is really good, sophisticated software. This startup is a joint US-Indian startup, and it has big name customers. Even back in 2019, it had big name customers. Travelocity, Peloton, these are big names, and Peloton has exploded since then. One of the really interesting things about this software that Observe A.I. came up with is that it also manages legal compliance. So call centers are heavily regulated. Why? So that they don't harass consumers and that they give information that's correct and not false and misleading. And finally, when it comes to healthcare is very specialized, and there are special privacy rules for healthcare called HIPAA in the United States, and very similar in most countries now. But there is tight regulation on a lot of these activities. So companies that run call centers need to really make sure that their agents aren't making mistakes, because that can result in heavy fines and penalties. And this is a huge, huge business. I didn't realize how big it was until I went back and reread this article and then checked in on the company again. But call centers are a $300 billion revenue business. That is massive. That means it's one of the bigger businesses in the world at that revenue level. And that means there's a lot of companies out there doing call center work and a lot of opportunity for human beings in these call centers to make mistakes. And that's why software like Observe A.I. is critical to help these people do a better job, do a legally compliant job, and provide excellent customer service to people on the phone. Now, one of the things that the article talks about, of course, is why this company chose this path instead of choosing to automate call centers fully with AI, which other companies are working on. For example, Google. So big names are working on fully AI-driven call centers, no humans. but a lot of people want to talk to a human being. And the people who started this company several years ago now believe that that will continue. I agree with that assessment. We've talked about that often here on the AI Guide channel. People still want to deal with human beings in as much as they know it's a human. Now, a while ago, we talked about Google Duplex and how realistic it is, and how it's so realistic that it is now licensed in almost every state in the United States and has special rules applied to it that has to inform people you are speaking to an AI because it's so realistic. So I think that will continue. That's a safe bet for some number of years, at least 10 years, maybe 20, before those kind of disclaimers will go away, where people are used to AI and used to dealing with it. And we talked about some of the consumer-facing applications of AI, of which this is one, but it's behind the scenes helping these call center agents. You're not really aware of it, versus the fully autonomous robo-taxis that are hitting the road in 2023 here in the United States, and presumably just as quickly in China and perhaps Western Europe. So this kind of use of AI is a very good, constructive use because it's human-friendly, right? It helps people do their job better. I've talked about other examples of software like that. One is in the Microsoft Office suite. If you work in an office and you use Microsoft products, you know Cortana, which now just changed names to Via or Viva or something like that. But what it would do is remind you of things you said you were going to work on and provide recent documents that you may need access to and things like that. So this is helpful to humans to do work. And these are constructive uses of AI as opposed to job displacement uses of AI. And there's no real downside to the kind of AI that Observe is doing, like the kind versus the kind of AI that reviews credit applications and denies people credit, which is being regulated out of existence already or shortly. So very interesting. Observe is still doing very well, growing very quickly according to their recent press reports, and their revenue is up. And most likely they won't need to raise as much money from VC firms unless they decide to go public. And it's easy to go public these days. We talked about how you do that in a recent video. But AI companies need multiple ways to get money. But if you have a good idea, clearly, even competing against companies like Google, you can be successful with the right idea, the right team, and the right execution. Sounds simple, it isn't. But I encourage all of you to try your own startup or work at a startup at some point, because it's a very, very interesting experience where you build very, very strong teamwork with the people you work with, and you learn a lot that you otherwise simply wouldn't learn at a big company, because big companies are too siloed and there's specific people to do each little thing, and you just don't get exposed to many of the things that you get exposed to as an employee of a startup. So highly recommend that. So thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed hearing about Observe AI and how they're doing and catching up on that technology. It's very cool. We'll continue to follow up on issues as we always do here. One of the interesting things is that A lot of call center work was sent overseas. Why? Because they can do it so much cheaper over there. But some of it has been brought back from overseas locations because of public relations reasons, we'll call it. And so this is certainly a way to make a decent living. In fact, I know people who have worked in certain specialized types of call centers where they work on commission because of the type of activity they do, and they make well over $100,000 a year if they're good. So this is a viable line of work for you, particularly if you elected not to go to college and you don't really want to do mechanical type work. Call center work is a good option. So thanks a lot for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Get my new book on Amazon. It's cheap, and it's a very good short overview of where AI is historically and today. It's a short read. You can read it in a few hours, the whole thing. I did that on purpose. So thanks a lot. Take care, and we'll see you next time.